The CBP released a migrant on a terrorist watch list. Unbelievable stuff. Pete Mundo in for Vince Coglianese. I host mornings on KCMO in Kansas City. It's great to be with you. Well, let's welcome on and say hello to Todd Bensman, Senior National Security Fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies and the author of the book Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History. Todd, it's great to have you on the show. Thanks for being here. Take me through this story and this report that the CBP has apparently released a migrant on the terrorist watch list. It's really unfathomable.
Well, we've caught a record number of immigrants on the terror watch list, more than 200 in the last 24, 30 months down on that border. So it's not exactly unusual. It's record-breaking, the number of people coming from all over the world. And one of them came through the Yuma sector at a time of incredible torrents of people moving through there, 30,000 a month. And he flagged on the FBI terror watch list. And instead of holding him, they were, CBP, Border Patrol, was under tremendous pressure to move these immigrants through into the American interior to get them off that border. And the pressure was so great that they blew off all of the counterterrorism protocols that they're supposed to go through when they catch a guy like this, and let him go. And before they realized it, he was in Florida. And ultimately, of course, this created a big urgent manhunt. They found him and rounded him up and got him back again, thank God. But what this really shows is that the mass migration, where we have just hundreds of thousands every single month for 2 years straight, has overrun the counterterrorism programs that are in place to keep the country safe, and which have kept the country safe for years from infiltrators like this. But now we can't really count on it so much, and that's not the only case. The Office of Inspector General for DHS happened to do an investigation on this one, thank God, and it's absolutely stunning what they found in here about how overrun these Border Patrol agents and the National Targeting Center of CBP, just a cavalcade of mistakes and miscues and bad communications, et cetera, let this guy through.
You know, Todd, the politics of this we talk about a lot, and, we understand the politics of this and why this administration may see value in allowing hundreds of thousands, millions of people to flood across the border over the last 2.5 years. But this does not make any sense to me on why you would be soft on illegal immigrants on a terrorist watch list getting into your country. Is it simply that the Border Patrol just can't keep track of everybody they've got to keep track of right now? Is it that simple, or is there something else going on?
Well, I do think it is that simple. I think that this is a question because these programs have been in place for decades. I've written an entire book about this called America's Covert Border War, about these counterterrorism programs at the border. And so I recognized very early on in this crisis that those programs were collapsing under the weight of humanity crossing through. The Border Patrol has been gang pressed into service in these processing centers, bringing everybody in on these papers, getting them released, getting them into the country to all four corners of America. And they're just under pressure to pull this off. And they're not doing what they're supposed to do. This is not the only case. I've written extensively. My analysis of this case is up on our website, CIS.org, Center for Immigration Studies, the whole analysis of this. But you can find in that links to other reports that I've done about other terrorists terrorist suspects that got let loose into the country. Also, apparently as a result of just the volumes of humanity coming through. And I believe that the threat of a jihadist attack or some other kind of attack is elevated right now. It has been for 2 years because of this. Fingers crossed.
Todd, when I look at the landscape, I mean, we see on well, not all cable news, but some cable news channels, what's happening down there, and you get a little bit of a glimpse at it. But the majority of Americans are not living it every day, and they can't comprehend it. They're not impacted by it. What would you say to them where they go through their day-to-day? We're all running around living crazy lives. We're not noticing it. We're not seeing it. What are things that we should be looking at and noticing in communities across the country that are not technically border towns?
Well, I do believe that regular Americans in the interior are feeling this and noticing this. City after city, elongating list of cities are declaring emergencies, demanding federal bailouts because more than 4 million illegal immigrants cross that border and are living in the country a very short period of time. And a great number of them have school-age children. So, for example, they have to go to school somewhere. They have to live somewhere. School districts have to buy portable classrooms and hold bond elections to hike taxes to pay for all of this. You can see in Chicago City Hall, communities, black communities, furious at the $50 million a month that are being spent on illegal immigrants when they've been begging for 50 years for even a fraction of that amount to their communities. There are people who are angry about this all over America and are seeing it in crime, are seeing it in their emergency rooms that are all clogged up. Nobody's insured that are coming through, that are seeing their wages depressed, et cetera. And now, they should not forget that there is a national security aspect to this outlined in this Office of Inspector General report. It's a stunning report. It really confirms what I have thought all along, which is that this mass migration crisis has brought our defenses down on this stuff. And people are getting through 1.7 million gotaways, meaning people that never got apprehended, have crossed in the last 2 years, historic record-smashing numbers. So, yes, we caught 200 who are on the FBI terror watch list, but how many of those 1.7 million are also on the terror watch list and just sailed right on through? And God knows what else, war criminals, people who are murderers and rapists and all the rest just pouring through that undefended border while they're off there processing.
Yeah. Todd Bensman, Senior National Security Fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies, author of the book Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History. So, Todd, do you have any hope? I mean, is there anything that you can look at right now with this administration and feel like things are, I don't want to say get better, Todd, but not get any worse? I mean, can we hang tight with where we're at right now? I don't know. What do you see here over the next 15 months or so until you get to the next election?
Well, the administration has changed things up to make it appear as though there's a decline in the numbers of foreign nationals crossing that southern border. That is a lie. What they've done is they have rechanneled people who were going to cross illegally through the land ports of entry by handing out these permits, entry permits, temporary entry permits. They keep every month they up it more and more. It's now just at the land borders. They're just bringing people through the ports of entry where you can't see it to the tune of about 1,450 a day. And you can just do the math on that. It's 40,000, 45,000 a month. And they're flying them in from foreign airports into our interior airports to the tune of another 40,000 a month. So whatever they're saying is a decline, and they're taking victory laps and spiking the football in the end zone and all that kind of stuff, that is bogus. They are just allowing as many people in as were crossing illegally before. And all those cities that I talked about earlier, all those school districts, they don't care how they got in. All they care about is there's 200,000 a month plus still coming through into this country when Donald Trump bequeathed a border where only 30,000 a month were being apprehended down there.
Yeah. Todd, if you had to give one piece of advice, if a Republican gets in there into the White House, whether it's Trump or any of the others, they get back in. What is the one policy, whether it's a former Trump policy or something else that you've thought of, Todd, that you've put forth? What's that one policy that you would suggest to try to alleviate and stop this crisis?
Tweak our asylum law so that it requires people who are crossing our border to have applied for asylum in another country first, or they are ineligible. This can't be policy. It has to be law. And short of that, remain in Mexico was the most powerful deterring policy that I ever saw. I was down there with the immigrants. Nobody is coming here for the great Mexican dream. They hope to use the asylum system to just get past Border Patrol, and then we never hear from most of them again. It just gets them into the country. That's the problem. That is the key problem right there. There's some other ones too, but I would say that's number one. Tweak that asylum law.
What does this do, Todd? I got to ask you this as well. What does this do to the housing in this country? I mean, you go to any major city, major metropolitan area around this country right now, there is a housing crunch. Rents are up. You can't get your hands on a decent priced home, it seems like. What impact does this play, even though we're talking about folks at the lower end of the socioeconomic scale, what impact does this have on a housing crunch that is real in many corners of this country?
Well, I think you can't get away. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you can't get away from the fact that, 4 and 5 million people brand new are in the country and have to live somewhere. That's going to be pressure on for apartment space. I mean, look at New York. All of their fanciest hotels are filled up with illegal immigrants, paid for by the local taxpayers, and ultimately will be paid for by all taxpayers. But they don't have anywhere to put them, and of course that's going to drive prices up. It's going to drive rents up. It's going to create situations where you've got 20 people living in one bathroom space and that sort of thing. And I mean, really, this is just there's no quality of life index. I don't believe that's not impacted when you have millions of people very quickly enter the country, and that's certainly one of them.
Todd, great stuff. He's Todd Bensman, Senior National Security Fellow at the Center for Immigration Studies. Check out his book, Overrun, How Joe Biden Unleashed the Greatest Border Crisis in U.S. History. Todd, great to have you on. Thanks for being here.